Good day, ma'am. Good day, everyone. We are the presenters for topic 4.1 Principles of Good Practice in Assessing Learning Outcomes. Prepared by Raymark C. Gornis, Nelmark L. Oreo, Jacob Saladaga, and Diana Rose A. Noses. In this topic, we're going to tackle about the 13 principles for assessing learning outcomes. Outcome assessment is the process of gathering information on whether the instruction, services, and activities that the program provides are producing the desired students' learning outcomes.
The assessment of the student learning starts with the institution's vision, mission, and core values. There should be a clear statement of the kinds of learning that the institution values most for its students. I'll begin with the institution's vision and mission and core values. And as we all know that vision, mission, and core values are the path of the institution to be followed by every person who's under with it. Vision, mission, and core values are created not for the institution but it was made for the student to be guided. Assessment works best when the program has clear statement of objectives aligned with the institution, vision, mission, and core values. Such alignment ensures clear, shared, and implementable objectives. Assessment works best when the program it seeks to improve have clear, explicitly stated purposes and aligned to our vision, mission, and core values, and it must be implementable objective. Assessment will be efficient for both student and staff such that learning outcomes are not overly assessed and that knowledge skill can be sampled.
Outcomes-based assessment is the deliberate collection of evidence of student learning based on outcomes. It yields a mark relative to the outcomes criterion reference rather than other students. There are clear criteria for what constitutes mastery. Instruction is thoughtful and adapts to learner needs. Learners are assessed when and where they have challenges. Learners are given adequate time to achieve mastery. These perspectives could be gathered through surveys. Examples are course evaluations, alumni surveys, student opinion surveys, campus climate survey, and etc. Interviews, focus group discussions, among others. Assessment requires attention to outcomes and equally to activities and experience that leads attainment of learning outcomes. These are supporting activities. Assessment requires attention to outcomes but also and equally to the experiences that lead to those outcomes. Information about outcomes is of high importance where students end up matters greatly. But to improve outcomes, we need to know about student experience along the way, about the curricula, teaching, and kind of student effort that lead to particular outcomes. Assessment can help us understand which students learn best under what conditions. With such knowledge comes the capacity to improve the whole of their learning.
Assessment works best when it is continuous, ongoing, not episodic. Assessment should be cumulative because improvement is best achieved through activities done over time in an instructional cycle. Assessment is an integral part of learning and teaching. Students' understanding of the assessment process is facilitated by clear explanation of assessment tasks. the relationship of assessment tasks to learning outcomes, and the criteria and standards by which students will be assessed. Assessment is a process whose power is cumulative. Though isolated, one-shot assessment can be better than none. Improvement over time is best fostered when assessment entails a linked series of cohorts of students. It may mean collecting the same examples of students' performance or using the same instrument semester after semester. It is about monitoring progress towards desired goals in terms of continuous improvement. On the way there, the evaluation process itself must be evaluated and refined in light of the new findings. The purpose is to keep track of how far you've come toward your objective in the spirit of continual improvement. Begin assessment by specifying clearly and exactly what you want to assess are stated in learning outcomes, lesson objectives. A learning objective is a statement in specific and measurable terms that describe what the learner will know and be able to do after completing a lesson. Only when you have clear learning objectives can you design activities that make learning engaging and interesting. Learning objectives are the key component to knowing where you are going. Every effective learning objective has three main parts. For example, behavior. The behavior describes what the learner will be doing. It can be something as simple as matching a word with its definition, or it may be something more challenging such as creating a model. The second is condition. The condition gives specific and clear guidance to the student as to what they can expect when completing the behavior that is stated. For example, it may include specific information the learner will use, such as a specific formula, or it may list the tools or reference the student will need in order to complete the behavior, such as dictionary, diagram, or T-chart. And the last part is criterion. Criterion is the part of an effective learning objective that specifically tells the learner what they must do to show mastery. This can be done in one of three ways: by telling the degree of accuracy, or by giving a quantity of correct responses, or a time limit. The intended learning outcome lesson objective. Content is the basis of the assessment task. You use it in the development of the assessment tool and task to hit attainment of your learning outcome. This is outcome-based teaching and learning. Intended learning outcomes are statement of what students are expected to be able to do as a result of engaging in the learning process, studying a lecture, course, program. They are expressed from the student perspective, expressed in the form of action verbs leading to observable and assessable behavior, related to criteria for assessing student performance.
Set your criterion of success or acceptable standard of success. Example is a score of 7 out of 10, the highest score possible, accepted or considered. It helps the student to aim high to your standard and make them competitive. Make use of varied tools for assessment data gathering and multiple sources of assessment data. It is not pedagogically sound to rely on just one source of data gathered by only one assessment tool. Consider multiple intelligences and learning styles. Depth Order number 73, 2012 cites the use of multiple measures as one assessment guideline. We should invent different style of learning styles, either visual, kinesthetic, or multiple intelligences to help and have a better and effective learning experience. Learners must be given feedback about their performance. Feedback must be specific. Good work is positive feedback and is welcome, but actually not a very good feedback since it's not specific. A more specific, better feedback is you observe rules on subject-verb agreement and variety of sentences. 3 of your commas were misplayed. It is good to the student to receive feedback from the teacher. It is to know that the teacher encourage or notice the hard work of the students. Like if we are given a positive feedback, we automatically become motivated and encouraged to do better.
Assessment should be on real-world application and not 7 of context drills. According to the research on graphs of G. Wiggins and G. McTighe, G. Real-world goal. Provide a statement of the task. R. Real-world rule. Define the role of the students in the task. A. Real-world audience. Identify the target audience within the context of scenario. S. Real-world situation. Explain the situation. P. Real-world product performance. Clarify what the students will create and why they will create it. Assessment helps the students in focusing on their ability to evaluate themselves, to make judgments, and assess their performance, and take measures or steps to improve upon it. We, of course, want them to be able to use the acquired knowledge and skills in the real world. Authentic assessment is all in the name. It aims to determine if students have learned the skills they need to be successful outside of the classroom by grading based on abilities required in the real world. Emphasize on the assessment of higher order thinking. Higher order thinking, known as higher order thinking skills, as a concept of education reform based on learning taxonomies. The idea is that some types of learning require more cognitive processing than others, but also have more generalized benefits. Those who employ higher order thinking skills understand how to analyze and evaluate complex information, categorize, manipulate, and connect facts, troubleshoot for solutions, understand concepts, connections and big picture thinking, problem solve idea and develop insightful reasoning. Higher order thinking is more difficult to learn or to teach, but also more valuable because such skills are more likely to be usable in novel situations other than those in which the skill was learned. Higher order thinking involves the learning of complex judgmental skills such as critical thinking and problem solving. Provide opportunities for self-assessment. Self-assessment provides students with an opportunity to self-evaluate or make judgments about their learning process and product of learning based on criteria that they have agreed on with their instructor. Why are self-assessments a useful tool? Well, it helps students judge their own abilities and performance and become self-regulated learners. Self-assessment skills will help them in their professional careers after they graduate by teaching them to regulate their own performance. How can instructors support students in self-assessment? As they learn, most students are already informally evaluating their own work and giving themselves feedback. For example, by proofreading an assignment before handing it in and making changes to improve it. Students are assessing their work despite its importance in the learning process. Self-assessment is not skill that is explicitly taught in the classroom. However, by building self-assessment components more intentionally into the classroom, instructors can encourage and empower students to assess themselves more effectively. Self-assessment can play a dual role for the student to both assess the end product or outcomes of their learning. Example, their knowledge of the course content, a final project, essay, etc. And also the process of learning. Example, their approach, strategies, strengths and areas for improvement, etc. Assessment opportunities assessment for learning, also called formative assessment, is central to the inquiry project and provides the means to identify and chart the development of students' ideas and understandings as well as to identify obstacles they encounter in their learning. As an integral part of the curriculum, assessment provides ongoing information about students' learning and helps to inform next steps in their learning. Assessment also informs the research, contributes to refining the curriculum, and serves as a focus for professional development. Students' progress in both science content and the inquiry process are as learning experiences themselves provide opportunities for assessment. The aim is to identify opportunities and provide criteria that help teachers and children themselves take stock of their learning as part of the curriculum. Assessments involve students as partners in their intellectual development by creating a clear vision of what is to be learned, sharing criteria used to judge progress, and providing ways for students to monitor and reflect on changes in their understanding. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that you have learned and understand our discussion. Thank you. Stay safe and God bless.